Let it be known throughout the land that the time has come once again to hear a proclamation from your all-knowing exalted one himself. Please welcome your King of Kings to this edition of the King's Court.
Yes, from the lords and ladies to the peasants and common folk, we welcome you again to another edition of the King's Court. And with the summer games going on in London right now, we pose the question, who is the greatest British hero of all time? And for me, this question really only truly had one answer without even thinking about it. But I figured I should try and explain a little bit and give you a little bit of diversity. So I went and I found theoretically what you would find as the 4 best from Great Britain. And we'll kind of do a little list here and we'll see how it goes. But I mean, just to give you an idea, I would say coming in at the number 4 spot, if you're anyone under the age of 18, you are very familiar with Harry Potter, both the movies and the books. Now, like I said, Harry Potter has been ingrained into pop culture, and he will always have his little niche, but he is truly what I would say for a younger generation. And also with that, Harry Potter has not been around for very long. So Harry Potter, we really can't say is the greatest because he still hasn't stood the test of time yet. So he's off the list. Number 3, I'm sure all of us nerds will really like this. And of course, being part of the Extreme Hardcore Nerds network, if you will, comes as no surprise, Doctor Who. Yes, with 11 incarnations of the Doctor out there, spanning multiple generations, it's easy to say that Doctor Who has spanned the test of time. But where he kind of falls a little bit short is that he's pretty much a nerd icon, shall we say. He's not very much pop culture. He's very subculture, at least as far as in the States. Now, I understand in Britain, Doctor Who is very huge. But if you went anywhere outside of that area, it would be kind of hard to find somebody who could tell you who the Doctor is, or anything about him, or his companions, or so on and so forth. So that's why I say Doctor Who is... he's starting to get there. The ball's rolling for him. But he's not quite there yet. So it really comes down to, in my mind, then 2 literary classics, 2 juggernauts. And in at the number 2 spot, if you will, would be Sherlock Holmes. Now, as we all know, the Sherlock Holmes, at least here in the States, that Robert Downey Jr. has portrayed in the last couple of years, have been phenomenal and has really brought a revigoration and a rebirth to the character and got people interested in Sherlock Holmes again, as far as movies and television, so on and so forth. Also, I know that the BBC is currently in their 2nd or 3rd season or 3rd run of a new Sherlock Holmes television series. So again, the popularity is starting to build again. Where Sherlock Holmes actually has a little bit of a balance, if you will, or why he has a little more weight to him, is he stood the test of time, and of course he is a literary classic. What I mean by that is his books are known everywhere. Hell, you've probably even read a few of them, whether you've wanted to or not, either in an English class somewhere along the way. So most people know who Sherlock Holmes is, but not everyone. And that is why we come to the number 1, the best hero ever to come out of Great Britain, and should be no surprise to anyone. All I have to say is 007. That's right, 007, James Bond, the greatest spy who ever lived. The the License to Kill man himself, with 23 films under his belt, spanning multiple decades. It's easy to see why James Bond is a huge part of pop culture. You could walk up to anybody and say the words James Bond or 007, and people will know exactly who you speak of. Now, you may not be thinking of the same character, as there have been 8 different James Bonds throughout the year. Some people will technically say 7, but it's true that there are 8. Go check your history books, people. I'm telling you. But James Bond has always had the persona, the look of a man of dignity, but he can also kick as much ass as you'd want to. I mean, most men want to be him. Most women want to be with him. Like I said, I mean, James Bond is pretty much considered a sex symbol throughout the world. And then you also imply on top of that, like I said, the women, the gorgeous, gorgeous women that this man associates himself with at almost every turn of every page. There isn't too many, shall we say, ugly chicks in a James Bond movie. So, but that comes with the life of a spy, you know? And 2, it's also become known in pop culture and just culture in general that when you're cast in a James Bond movie, you're a Bond girl. And that is a very, very prestigious honor to carry. And most of the women, there have been a few that kind of resent it, but hey, you know, it was the 70s. What do you expect? But most women who have been honored to be in the James Bond movies, since there are so few of them that are considered the Bond girls, hold it as a true honor and very esteemed and prestigious thing to have on their resume. Also, what makes 007 so cool? The gadgets. Yes, and I know he's been absent from the last couple films, but in the new one coming out this fall, Skyfall, James Bond will revisit his old friend Q once again and get all those wonderful toys. I mean, ooh, I can't wait to see what they come up now. I mean, I doubt it's going to be a little as, shall we say, tacky as some of the classic James Bond ones, like the knife in the shoe, and one of my personal favorites, the cell phone that also acted as a remote control for your car from Tomorrow Never Dies, or the laser watch from GoldenEye. I mean, there's been so many of them. The watch, or the detonator watch from pretty much almost any 007. I mean, James Bond has the coolest stuff. There's no way around it. But when you're a super spy, that's what's to be expected, is you get all the cool stuff. Except the hard part is returning it in one piece. We still got to work on that. And last but certainly not least, why James Bond is ultra cool, the cars. This man can make a classic or something that rolled right off the assembly line look amazing. Now, the car of choice, of course, is the Aston Martin. Whether it would be the classic Aston Martins from the Sean Connery, or even what came into play in the Pierce Brosnan GoldenEye one, or the brand new 2010, 2011 Aston Martins that you've seen in like Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace. James Bond has the pimpest rides out there. And not to mention, they're filled with more arsenal in them than most third world countries. So, I mean, it's easy to see why James Bond, without a doubt, is the greatest hero to come out of Britain, come out of England. Like I said earlier, every man wants to be him, every woman wants to be with him, and I don't blame them whatsoever, no matter what side of the fence you're on. So with that, we dub thee Sir James Bond here at the King's Court, and we crown you the greatest hero of of Britain. So thank you once again to Ian Fleming for creating a remarkable character that has stood the test of time and still brings entertainment to billions of people around the world. And like I said, with the 23rd incarnation of James Bond coming up this fall, I can't wait to see what they come up with next. But with that does bring this edition of the King's Court to a close for this week. Thank you very much for joining us once again, and make sure you check out all of the things we have to offer on the Extreme Hardcore Nerds page, whether it's the Extreme Hardcore Nerds podcast, our afterthoughts, the new Extreme Hardcore Nerds countdown, or of course, previous episodes of the King's Court. Look for them and so much more to be coming from us here in the next couple months. So we are very busy and getting more and more content out there for our wonderful fans like you. And we do appreciate all the support that we get each and every week. So thank you very much for that. But with that, I do close this edition of the King's Court. Peace!